Hi, I'm Michelle, and today we're talking to Clynton Bartholomeusz, the Managing Director of Australia and New Zealand for Beiersdorf. Clynton, thanks for coming in today.
No problem.
What have been the major milestones for NIVEA in establishing itself in the Australian market?
Well, that's a really interesting story, and we probably need to go back into ancient history, but NIVEA actually was owned not by Beiersdorf back in the late 80s, early 90s. It was actually owned by Smith & Nephew, who owned the brand in the Commonwealth countries, and Beiersdorf owned it in the non-Commonwealth countries. And in '92, Beiersdorf set about reacquiring its brand rights in all of the Commonwealth countries, and after that was done, Beiersdorf installed its own marketing people inside Smith & Nephew to relaunch the brand. And funnily enough, I was the first Beiersdorf guy hired in Australia to relaunch NIVEA in this country and New Zealand back in 1994. We relaunched the brand in '95. We launched NIVEA Visage onto the Australian market back then. So that was a real milestone for us, you know, doing that. After that, we set about relaunching NIVEA Body from there, and then bringing all of the ranges that you see today, but which had been in Europe for quite some time.
NIVEA is a brand steeped in history and celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. How do you ensure the brand remains relevant?
I think in terms of what NIVEA stands for, it's always going to be relevant. If I think about the actual personality of the brand, NIVEA stands for family, it stands for trust, it's a skincare expert. All of those things I think are going to help make it relevant for a long, long time. But in terms of staying contemporary, partly that's about just understanding where consumers' heads are. And you know, this year, as you said, we're celebrating 100 years, and the face of NIVEA for the 100-year celebration is Rihanna. So, you know, that's really about, you know, making it contemporary.
Why did you choose Rihanna to be involved with NIVEA?
Well, Rihanna is actually the voice of the 100-year celebration, and that's because she's an amazing artist. We're also going to see some of her music being used in advertising campaigns, and we're also involved in her global tour. So it's going to be a really exciting time.
Where will NIVEA position itself in the future? Will that personality stay the same?
Look, I think, again, it's what the core values are, and I think I can't see those things changing, you know, in society. They're always going to be important. So as a brand, as long as we sort of exemplify those true values, but at the same time deliver them in a contemporary way, I don't see any issues at all.
Clynton, what brought about NIVEA's focus on skincare and the Better Skincare for Life campaign?
I think what we're seeing with this campaign is actually the concept of revisiting what NIVEA stands for. And NIVEA is a skincare expert. It basically means that we want to focus on what people know us for, and it's what we do best. The other part to that equation is there's lots of information that would indicate that skincare is actually going to drive the health and beauty market for the next couple of years. And I've seen some numbers that say that 50% of all of the growth in the global market is actually going to come out of skincare. So focusing on that area is obviously a great business opportunity as well.
Clynton, what does the Better Skincare for Life campaign mean for consumers?
NIVEA is passionate about skincare and creating better skincare for consumers for every day of the rest of their life. And for consumers, that's really about creating products that work with the skin's own processes, and whether it be the raw materials we use or the actual products we create, it's always focused about giving consumers better skincare for the rest of their life.
How will this focus on skincare impact on the brand's current lines, and will there be any local specific products to come out of this?
So a focus on skincare for us means actually understanding what drives skincare for consumers. Beiersdorf's made the decision, for instance, to get out of makeup globally and really focus on skincare. Part of that for us locally means that sun care, which is a big part of the skincare market, is something that will get an increased focus. And yeah, you will see some local development in that area, because Australia has some very unique needs when it comes to the sun care regulation in this market, and also our sun care needs, given the high incidence of UV that we have here.
So what are NIVEA's priorities in terms of new product development?
On a global scale, I mean, NIVEA is always about healthy skin, so a lot of the R&D is actually focused on how to moisturise, more efficiently, and obviously anti-wrinkle is a big business area as well. Locally, it means that things like sun care are a real focus for us.
How much R&D goes into a new NIVEA product?
How long's a piece of string, I suppose. You're talking hundreds of millions of euro is pumped into R&D. You're talking horizons generally 5 to 8 years in terms of where our development chemists are looking, and for instance, some of it might come from internal research, but we're doing a lot of work with aquaporines at the moment, which it's a whole concept of how the skin cells actually moisturise themselves from within, and that whole piece of research actually came out from Nobel-winning technology.
Clynton, where do you see NIVEA 10 years down the track?
Oh gee, 10 years down the track. Again, I just see it as probably in this country being the #1 skincare brand. We are already #1 or 2 in nearly all of the categories we compete in. I'd like to think by that stage we would be #1 in every category.
And how does the Australian market compare to global markets?
Look, Australia, with a population of 21 million people, it basically means that we probably only account for 1% of the global market. But our success here in Australia, if you compare it on a per capita basis, it's outstanding. So from a Beiersdorf point of view, I know that we are actually the highest per capita users of NIVEA outside of Europe. So that's really exciting, and we're very close to the European average. So no, we're very proud of that.
Clynton, this is your 10th year as the Managing Director at Beiersdorf, Australia and New Zealand. What are the biggest changes you've seen in the company since you've been there?
Oh, wow. I've been 10 years as the MD and 16 years with the company in total. So I've seen a lot of changes. Realistically, just the sheer growth of the business has meant that there's been a lot of complexity that's actually grown up in and through the business. But I've also seen the company develop into one where we have this really unique culture. It's a culture that is very open, it's pretty laid back, and one where leadership in the organisation just doesn't exist at the top. Leaders are developed and grown through the whole organisation.
Clynton, thanks so much for coming in to talk to us today on Beauty Directory TV.
Thanks very much for having me.